It's a day called today. We're talking guitars and life. Well, welcome back, my friends, to another episode of Ted Talks Guitars and Life. As you might assess by looking at the workbench, it's time to get into it. So what we're going to do in this video, we're going to tackle the neck of the Squier Stratocaster by Fender that I am affectionately calling for the moment Black and Blue. So Black and Blue's got some issues. We're going to check that fingerboard out. We're going to check those frets out. I didn't really feel any high frets when I was playing it, but hey, the strings were a mile high. And yeah, so we're going to look into that today, and everything else will be pushed to the side. You may see that I have the body disassembled. That will be a video down the road. So let me clear off the bench, get us set up to work on some frets. Stick around, ought to be a good ride. Well, welcome back, friends. Here we are on the workbench with the Black and Blue Squier neck, and you might be able to tell that I've got a little bit of a wobble on my neck because my neck is bowing. It's higher in the center than it is on either end. And see if we can't copacetically level this neck up. Alright, my friends, well, we've got our handy Truss Rod straight edge out. We've got a straight neck. I had a little bit of a bow in it, so I did tweak the truss rod a little bit. And again, the most fascinating thing about this Black and Blue Squier Strat with no serial number or information to speak of is that this, my friend, is a Fender 3/16 tool. That is a 3/16 truss rod, not a 4mm truss rod. So I read online that there were Squier Strats made in Mexico in 1998. I'm not saying this is a 1998 Squier Strat. I'm saying that I read online that in 1998 Squier Strats were made in Mexico. One of the distinctions between Squier Strats that were made in Mexico from my research is that they have a 3/16 truss rod, or some of them did. I really can't, for any other reason, figure out why there's a 3/16 Fender spec truss rod in here. Either this is a very older Squier that was more Fender specalicious, or I don't know what I'm looking at. Who knows, guys? Alright, so what I know is that my truss rod is 3/16, and I'm going to start making some notes here. Okay, so we've got a 3/16 truss rod, perfectly straight neck as necks go. So yeah, we are going to turn this bad boy around. We are going to look at some frets, you and I. Oh boy. Well, that didn't take long, did it, guys? Well, you know, hey. Man, what are you guys working on today, man? How is your day going? You got any cool guitar projects you working on? You got any key life events you're working through, man? What's going on, man? What is happening? Man, I dig hanging out with you guys, man. I really, really do. By the time this airs, we will have had our first round table of the channel. Yeah, man, I'm going to go live for a little bit tomorrow night, and I'm going to give out a Zoom link, which most of you should have already, well, it's already happened. Let me not talk to you like it's going to happen. But yeah, my intent is to go live tomorrow night, give out a Zoom call to everybody, I got some weirdness right here. And jump on the horn with y'all. And in theory, that has all already taken place, man. And I'm sure it was a great time. So I will thank you all again for hanging out. Yeah, man. Okay, well, this is getting fun, isn't it? Hey, well, what did we learn? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 high frets. And again, I did not get any discernible fret buzz because the strings were so high, you would have never noticed it. So I'm going to take my rubber mallet hammer, per usual. If you hang on the channel, you've seen me do this. Oh, by the way, if it's your first time, welcome. Come back anytime and hang out with us at TED Talks, Guitars, and Life. So what I'm going to do with an unlevel fret is I'm going to attempt to hammer this fret into submission. And not to be prescriptive, but if you do this kind of thing, you want to make sure that you support the neck before you go to banging on it. Let's see if that leveled things up. Yeah, man. Sometimes some good bangage, man, just straighten everything on out for you, Jack. So let me go back up here. Let me get back to a flat surface for this part. There we go. All right. Checking the frets, checking the frets. Man, I learned a song today I've always wanted to learn. Well, see, now we leveled this one, so it took this one out. That's why I always say, man, when you've got one that's high, it really does kind of mess up your ability to go up the neck and check them out. So we'll just do it one at a time. Right here on the other side. So we have level frets. We've got that going for us, Jack. Oh, go tee shot. That's the money. This is, by the way, if you're playing the home game, let me document my life. That is a 9.5 radius. Yes, it is. The way I know that is that I took my handy dandy solo radius gauges of the 9.5 Persuasion, did a little something like that, and then you can't see that. How do you do that and not get your hand in the way? I don't know. Oh, you still can't see it. Let's try it down here. If I do that, see, you probably can't tell, but I can't see any light coming under that radius gauge. That's how you know what radius gauge is the right one, and that, my friend, is a 9.5er, which I kind of sort of expected, this being a Squier. Squiers and Fenders are, by the way, it's 9.5 all the way up. The neck, I had already ascertained that. Sometimes you can have a radius neck, which means for the first 12 frets it may be one particular radius, and for the rest of the frets a completely different radius. That, my friends, is called a compound radius. Yep. Solo music radius gauges, you can check those out. I've seen radius gauges on the Zon too. I'll drop a link in the description below to Amazon link radius gauges. Okay? So, what do we know? We've got a 3/16 truss rod. We've got a 9.5 radius. I don't think there's any way you're going to be able to see this, but that is the only markings that I have. And it's very suspicious to me. There's two things. I'll show you this on the neck and something else on the body. So, although I can't read those red letters, i.e. numbers, I thought it said March, but come to find out, I don't think that's what it says. These black marks a lot, Sharpie. Man, those are kind of suspiciously located right over that serial number, don't you think? I think so. I thought that was pretty wild that that would be there. And I don't think I can take the black markings off without taking the red markings off. So I guess the world may never know. You can tell kind of here that this is a pretty polyed up neck. It's not super heavily polyed like the classic vibes are. And you can also see here's that dent I was telling you about in a previous vid. We can fill that should we desire to do that with a little bit of love. A little bit of sawdust and CA glue ought to do that trick on that bad boy. Yep, and then we've got this fun little hole here, which is just a hole. So yeah, about that. Okay. So I think I should scrape this fingerboard given the gunk that's on it. Or I may try something new with y'all today since I have you. Here's the other thing that's kind of wild is you see how that is like all shiny and then it gets very worn. I think, guys, somebody had this guitar and played it a whole bunch, or maybe they clear coated after putting this nut in. This nut, I don't know that that's plastic. It sure doesn't feel like plastic, but it doesn't necessarily feel like bone either. I mean, it is cut fairly well. You can tell where they gouged it a little bit with their file. Maybe as they were making the slots. I really don't know. But I don't think those slots were giving me any trouble. Now again, the string action was sky high, so we're going to figure all that out later. I'm going to do something fun just because I've never done it. All right. Ooh, what are we going to do? Well, I'm going to show you. Let me think about this. I'm of two minds, which is a scary thought. One part of me wants to just polish up the frets before I do anything with the fingerboard. It does seem counterintuitive to do the fingerboard and then the frets and have to do the fingerboard again. So somebody's at my front door, man. So let me go see who that is, and when I get back, what we'll do is frets. Well, before we go to flapping, we're gonna just look at some fret edges. Guys, they're not sharp, really to speak of, but a couple of them are a little grabby, and I don't like grabbage on my, and I don't like cabbage either, but I don't like my frets to grab my fingers ever, ever, ever. So I'm just, you know, guys, maybe you've seen me do this, maybe you haven't, maybe you've seen other guys do it. I'm just going to go down the side of the fret. This one has like a burr on top of it. So I'm going to go down the side and I'm going to go over and round over when I get to the edge of that fret. And in theory, if I do that, in this case 4 times, that burr is no longer a burr. Now, guys, I opted not to tape my board up. Okay? You may want to tape your board up when you do this kind of stuff, because if you looked really closely, you'd see a little bit of a nick right here. But I'm not worried about that. It's my guitar neck, and I don't care about a little neck in a fingerboard if my fret ends are smooth and delicious. It's all about the glidage for me, man. I want to be able to glide up and down and not feel any resistance to what I'm doing. But that's just me, Jack. Do you have to do this? No, man, you don't have to do this. This is all, it's all player preference, guys. I say it in almost every video. Everything about guitar playing is player preference, man. You set your gear up the way you want your gear set up. Don't let anybody run any space in your head about what you do and do not have to do to your guitar, man. The only thing you got to do to your guitar is what you want to do, Jack. Everything else is somebody else's opinion, and guess what? If they're not coming over to your place to jam, it probably don't matter what they think anyway. Some of these don't feel, none of them feel really super. The only thing I did have this burr on this one down here, but the rest of these, yeah, man, there ain't nothing really. This is just me being Ted, man. It's Ted being Ted on the edges of these frets. I am interested. I'm still kind of thinking about while we're filing away here, which you can't see because I'm not trying to be a camera guy right now. I'm trying to work on frets, but probably still could. Thinking about whether or not, whether or not I want to go at the 12th through the 21st fret, kind of bring those down a little bit just to make sure that those frets are lower so that I don't have any buzzy. The second thing that I'm not quite sure about just yet, the other thing I was considering, when I look at these frets, I can see without like even trying to see. What looks like, I can't tell that there's really indentions. Well, there's a little indention right there. Well, oh well, they're all a little beat up. So I may run the level over that. We'll do that in a minute, you and I. So if you want to, I mean, you can go eat a sandwich or something, or turn on the news, or whatever you want to do, man. Speaking of news, man, by the time you see this, probably be about a week and a half out from when Sean over at Scar My Guitar's channel got hacked, man. That's a terrible thing, man. Terrible thing. Hopefully, by the time you see this, they will have resolved that and they get their channel back. Or I know that they have. They're using their secondary channel, and you know, I was talking to somebody today. I think it was Brother John, man, and I was sharing with John, and he wanted me to make sure that I knew about it, which I really appreciate being in the loop. And I had already heard, but was grateful for the shout out about it. And you know, hopefully their vids were all backed up and they'll be able just to kind of move things around a little bit. But I don't know, man. It's a crazy world we live in, you know. Hackers and scam artists abound, my friends, and that is always going to be the case, I am afraid. So, yeah. So I think what we're going to do is we are going to have to take the level down this. And I've got a new tool that I've never used that I may try out on this. I don't know. Maybe I should sand them first. Maybe it's not as bad as it looks. Yeah, it is. I can feel this right here. This, can you hear that? I'm sure that you can. That is just my fingernail catching on a fret. So I think what I'm going to need to do then is I'm going to need to go down this board. I don't see how I can file just one. If I file that one, it's going to be lower than this one, which is going to make this one high, which is what's going to give me some fret buzzage. So, all right, let me collect my tools, let me collect my thoughts, and we'll do something fun together, man. Man, I hope you guys are having fun. I hope when we hang out, it's cool with you. Stand by. Well, as always, wherever you are in your guitar journey, I pray it's a long, smooth, safe, joy-filled ride for you, Jack. Rock on with your bad selves, everybody. We'll catch you down the road.